Because when you think of the...
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning, Rabbi.
We're learning Mishnah Pesachim, Perek Aleph, Chapter 1, and we're on Mishnah Gimel, Mishnah 3. V'chamisha Sarbai, on the 15th of that month, meaning on the 15th of Adar, Shulchanais Hayu Yoshvim Medina. The money changers would begin to sit in the Medina. So they translate Medina, just translating the word as the province. The province in this context means in Yerushalayim, meaning these money changers would be in Yerushalayim, so that people who now had to. So the way it's explained in the Bar Tanura is the following: the foreigners often did not know how many of their coins equaled a shekel. They would therefore go to the money changer, who would take from them the correct, who would take from them the correct amount of coins and give back a shekel in exchange. Okay, so they had these foreign coins. They didn't know how many of them make a shekel. So you go to the money changer. He knows the going rate. He knows how to figure it out somehow. And he would then give you, for the amount of foreign coins that they would have, he could give you the half shekel for the correct amount of coins. Mm-hmm. Now, I just want to ask a question. I haven't seen this question asked, but have foreign coins, right? Could they have used the foreign, if they would have known how much each, if they would have done on their own, how much each, how many foreign coins makes the half shekel? Could they have given that instead of the actual half shekel? Sounds like they could have. Sounds like if they would know how much their quarters, whatever it may be, make up a half a shekel, they could have just given that. Didn't have to give the half shekel coin. It's an amount. Mm-hmm. But being that they didn't know how to figure that out, so basically they went to the money changer and he told them. Now, again, at the same time, if the money changer could have just told them, why do I have to give them a shekel back? Right? They could use their own money, just go to him, ask him how many makes a half shekel, and use that. Why do you have to exchange it for a shekel? So it's not clear to me what's going on. I mean, if you need to give the half shekel, that's what you need to actually donate. So if they don't have it, they got to go to a money changer to get it. Unless they had them themselves also. I don't know. It just bring out this thing that's not clear to me, that the way the Bar Tanura explains why they had the money changers is to know how many foreign coins makes a half a shekel, and then to get a half a shekel for it, why don't you just say they went to the money changer, they got a half shekel, especially if they're coming from a foreign place.
I thought it had to be a specific.
Okay, so they just say they had to get the half shekel. Not because they didn't know how much.
Half shekel's worth.
So if that's what it is, they needed to have shekel. So they had the money changers in order to get a half shekel, especially if they're foreigners. All right, let's move on. Now, but that's what it says. The money changers were there, and they were in Yerushalayim there to help people, exchange their foreign coins for the half shekel. Okay, now, the Esrim V'chamisha on the 25th of Adar, right? Time is running out. Right, the deadline is you have to get it. The deadline is the end of Adar, because once you hit Rosh Chodesh Nisan, you missed the time. Yashvu b'mikdash. At that point, they were sitting at the Beis Hamikdash. Now, it doesn't mean they sat in the Beis Hamikdash. It means they sat at the Har HaBayis on the Temple Mount. Mm-hmm. And the point of that was by moving themselves to the area of the Beis Hamikdash. That was a sign to everybody that time is running out, and make sure you take care of this. Okay. Now, the Mishnah continues. Misha Yashvu b'mikdash. At the point that the money changers were sitting in the Beis Hamikdash, was they already that close to the deadline? His chilu lamashkin. They began to take security, which means that there were people who were in charge of making sure, as I bring down here, officials were appointed in all Jewish cities to oversee the collection of the shkolim. And therefore, if they knew somebody had not given their shkolim and time was running out, at this point of time, they'd actually go and take collateral. You go to the person's house and seize property until they give the half shekel. So it's interesting. It would seem like they had a list, I guess. They had a list, that they kept a list of who was there, who gave the half shekel, who didn't. And that's how they knew to go to that person and give, and to basically say that, let me just read here from the Rambam's commentary. They would enter the houses of those who refused to give the shkolim and take away something as collateral, which would not be returned until these people paid their obligation. There is a power of a local basin of a local court under in certain times, let's put it that way, to make sure, to enforce that people fulfill the mitzvahs they're supposed to do. And in this case, this is what they did in order to make sure that the shkolim were collected. Now the Mishnah continues, as Mima Mashkinin, whom did they seize property? From whose property did they seize? Who did they make sure? Who were they taking collateral from to make sure that they gave the half shekel? Which really is another way of saying who's actually obligated to give this half shekel. The answer is Leviim Yisraelim. Well, actually, I shouldn't say that. It definitely depends on that, but we'll see there's a difference. But from whom did they seize collateral? Leviim Yisraelim, right? If they came from the tribe of Levi, if they were Yisraelim, Gerim, converts, Avodim Meshachar, and freed slaves. Freed slaves, let's talk about an Eved Kanani, a non-Jewish slave, a non-Jewish person that was bought as a slave by a Jew. When they become a slave, that itself creates a partial conversion. They go to the mikveh, they get a bris, and they become obligated to mitzvahs like a woman. Once they're freed, then they become like a full-fledged convert. So therefore, the Mishnah says, Gerim, converts, and freed slaves, which is the same thing as a convert. All these people are obligated to give a half shekel. And when they don't, we'll take collateral from them to make sure that they do. You do not do that to women, to slaves, and to minors. Women are not obligated to give a half shekel. That's based on a pasuk, based on a verse in the Torah. Avadim, here means not freed slaves. It means unfreed slaves. They have the same status as a woman when it comes to obligation for mitzvahs. If a woman is exempt, the slave is exempt. Ketanim are minors. Now, what kind of a minor are we talking about? We're for sure talking about a minor under the age of 13. Under the age of 13, they don't have an obligation to have to give they don't have an obligation for mitzvahs. They don't have the obligation to give the half shekel. But the Bartanura says that in this context, a katan means until the age of 20. And that is also based, and according to the Bartanura's opinion, it's based on a pasuk, on a verse, that the obligation of giving the half shekel only starts from the age of 20. That's Bartanura's opinion. Others disagree, and they say that it says here katan means a minor, and it means a minor, like we always refer to a minor, which means under the age of 13. But the Bartanura says it means until the age of 20. Only when they hit the age of 20, they become obligated to give this half shekel. Any minor that his father started giving for him, meaning he gave the explanation here is that the father is giving for the son to educate the son. Basically, he's showing the son that he's giving a shekel for him, and he was trying to educate him in this mitzvah. Not that he was obligated to do that. He wasn't obligated to do that, but that's what he did. So the halacha is, if he started, shivin paisik, you don't stop. That's a rabbinic decree that the father continues to do so until he is of the age of 20, where he can take on the obligation himself. And then the Mishnah says, we do not take collateral from Kohanim because of ways of peace. That means like this. A Kohen, like any other Jew, every Jew has to give half shekel. The whole point of the half a shekel is to have your portion, to be able to purchase, that is, since this is the money that goes for the karbonos tzibur, the communal sacrifices, and therefore for everyone to have a share in the communal sacrifices, they have to give something towards it. That includes Kohanim too. Kohanim also, even though they're the ones doing the carbon tzibur, doing the communal sacrifice, it's for themselves too. So therefore, they have an obligation to give a half shekel. What if they don't? What if the Kohen's not doing it? A Kohen, we don't take collateral from. And they darkei shalom because of ways of peace. Now, the way they explain this here on the bottom is Kohanim deserve special honor since they do the service in the Beis HaMikdash. Thus, forcing them to pay their shkolim would cause them to react resentfully against being treated in this way. This is the way they bring down and explain. This is the way they explain the Bartanura's explanation for this last part of the Mishnah. The Kohanim deserve special treatment. They kind of feel they deserve special treatment in some way, maybe subconsciously. And if you start forcing them to give a half shekel, they're going to be resentful. We don't want that. The way the Bartanura here, the way I would read the Bartanura here, it just says, since the service of the Kabbanis is on them, we give them honor and rely on them that they won't hold back their shkolim, which to me sounds like it's a certain, again, it's a deference for the Kohanim. They do the avoda, and therefore we're not going to take collateral. That taking collateral is an embarrassing thing. So therefore, because the Kohanim do the service of the Beis Hamikdash, we just say, okay, look, we're not going to, even if it's getting late, we're not going to take the collateral for them. We're not going to kind of treat them in a certain way disrespectfully, and we'll rely on the fact that they give the shkalim. And the Bartenura at the end says, and unless they don't give the shkalim, let's say they don't bring it down here in the notes, but let's say they do, they don't give the shkalim, and it says, Bezdin masna alim shilhem chelav avedasam. The Bezdin, meaning the highest court, can go ahead and say, well, even though the Kohen didn't give us half shekel, but because of his service, because he works in the Beis Hamikdash, we give him a portion. Because we find that the money that's collected, the communal funds that are collected, are often used for people who work in the Beis Hamikdash. There are people who have to fix things in the Beis Hamikdash. Where do they get paid from? They get paid from that money. So therefore, being that there is a power to use that money to pay people for their service, so therefore, if the Kohen would not go ahead and give us half shekel, the Beis Din would say, okay, because of his service, we give him a portion. Instead of, even though he's not paying the half shekel, we'll give him for his service. We're going to go ahead, it's almost like for his service we could pay him from this kind of money for his service. So what we do is we give him a portion in the karbonos. So at the end of the day, we're doing what we can not to have to treat them in a way to be disrespectful because of the service that they do. To do the service in the Beis Hamikdash. That's how the wording of the Bartenura here is. Here on the bottom, they bring down the Tosfos Yantov's explanation of the Bartenura that it's more than just, well, we're not going to embarrass them because of the service that they do. It's kind of going to avoid any kind of resentful feelings, which actually fits. It would seem to me fits in better to the wording of the Mishna of Nedarke Shalom, ways of peace. Ways of peace means you're trying to promote peace, trying to make sure there's no nobody has any complaints. So according to the Tosfos explanation of the Bartenura, it fits in better. We don't want them to feel resentful. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Thank you, Rabbi.